Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry I'm pressed for time. I have a 7:30 plane to catch, so I'm going to be very brief. But if anybody is interested, I'm going to leave my speech with the organizers, who can then share it with you. Let me just start by saying thank you for inviting me here. I've been here before, and they tell me I'm going to get an award as I am leaving. And I told them, what for? They said, we don't know. So if I do get an award, it's because we don't know. Anyway, let me say, but looking into today's prevailing conditions and state of affairs in the Middle East, particularly the Arab region, we find no credible signs that call for much optimism. Strategically, it is vulnerable on all fronts and is widely exposed to all possibilities. Strategic vulnerability is as old as the establishment of the nation-state order following World War I. However, catastrophic events during the past decades, such as the recurring Arab-Israeli wars and conflicts, the Lebanese civil war, the Iraq-Iran prolonged war, the invasion of Kuwait, the invasion of Iraq, and constant foreign interventions have contributed greatly to this vulnerability. Coupled with this is the failure of many of our states in facing the shared and constantly looming threats to our existence and to our people. Poor social, economic, educational, and cultural policies and the selfishness that characterize some Arab leaders' foreign and domestic policies for decades are causes of this mess. All of what we witness nowadays unfolding, and that was exposed by what is called the Arab Spring, is but an indictment of these policies and natural results of it. In Iraq, it has led it to becoming a failed state with a collapsing society. The cause of Syria's free falling into a swamp of blood, destruction, desolation, terrorism, conspiracies, and foreign interventions. The cause of the sinking of Yemen into an inferno of conflict and civil war. The cause of the failure of the Libyan state. The unrest in other Arab countries. The cause of the spread of transnational phenomenon of terrorism within many of our states. The cause of the spread of armed militias that are not under the control of nation states, and the spread of appalling sectarianism and other negative developments. All that, ladies and gentlemen, is a condensed representation of our deplorable state of affairs. Our unenviable past, rather our unenviable present, was the future of our recent past. And the way we deal with our present is the future awaiting us. It is imperative that we must consciously learn from the pitfalls of the past. We must plan our future wisely and be alert at all times if we want to avoid a catastrophic future. We must courageously face the challenges that threaten our existence and attain a visionary approach to the future, if we wish to attain a decent place on the world stage. We're facing immense challenges. Some of them are in our hands to solve, but others, unfortunately, are in the hands of others. First, the preservation of the nation state in the Arab world is of vital importance to the security and stability of its social components. Realization of such a goal cannot be achieved without creating a normal relationship between the state and its citizens, whereby the state becomes the guardian of all its citizens, with all shades and colors, attending to their ambitions and aspirations and being the point of reference to their national identity. Second, the weakness, fragility, and fragmentation of the Arab regional system, which affects all of its political, economic, social, and cultural institutions, must be cured. This system lacks the necessary vitality to provide the minimum requirements to defend the Arab countries. let alone qualifying them to attain a respectable place within the framework of international order and the context of their people's aspirations. Despite the establishment of the Arab League, which oversaw the transition from colonialism to independence, and enacted agreements and treaties to secure the interests of all its members, the blind ambition to gain sole leadership by the rising nationalist socialists led to its decay and the paralyzed and empty skeleton devoid of any potential or vitality. If we aspire to attain dynamic participation in the global order, we must avoid repeating past ideological obstacles and petty attitudes and trivial competition about who is small and who is grand, who has deep and illustrious historical roots and who is of recent appearance on stage. Squabbles that characterize attempts at cooperation throughout the past 7 decades. We must rectify forgive me for going through I'm trying to shorten the speech. The failure of the system led to large-scale strategic deterioration within the Arab region following the existence of a strategic vacuum that allowed Israel and the Iranian leadership and other powers to tamper with our countries and our social fabric. It is imperative upon us to repair the damage inflicted upon Arab communal efforts and be prepared for all possibilities, taking into consideration the damage of Israeli occupation of Palestine and the threat of the disruptive interference of the Iranian leadership in the internal affairs of our states, spreading their sectarian ideology and attempting to export their crises to us while actively supporting sectarian terrorism. Even with the most celebrated achievement of Obama's foreign policy, the nuclear deal, the Iranian leadership's belligerent attitude toward their neighbors is evident in their continued outright occupation of the islands of the United Arab Emirates, and continued meddling in the internal affairs of Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Lebanon, and Bahrain. The danger posed by Iran is real, especially when we realize that all attempts to reform Iranian policies went in vain. Despite the fact that we do not harbor any ill feeling towards Iran and its people as neighbors and brothers in faith, we must ensure our regional security requirements and collectively strive to face these imminent and present dangers. Iran's extraterritorial ambitions, like those of the so-called Islamic State, are the mainstay of the failure of Bashar al-Assad, Nouri al-Maliki, Ali Abdullah Saleh, and Muammar al-Qaddafi to maintain the equanimity of their peoples. We must rectify the power imbalance vis-à-vis Iran. Any disequilibrium will no doubt allow the Iranian leadership to exploit all gaps to infiltrate our countries. In this regard, I believe that the experiment of the creation of the GCC is a pioneering and successful one in the Arab world, despite the current Qatari crisis that was caused by Qatar's tweeting outside the flock. It is my hope that this crisis ends by bringing Qatar into harmony with its other sister states of the GCC. Therefore, regardless how this crisis ends, we must maintain and develop the GCC so that it can lead to economic integration through intensifying cooperation in all spheres and surmount all obstacles in the path of its goals. I will now close, ladies and gentlemen, by reading something about the United States. It is fair to say, ladies and gentlemen, that US policy in the Middle East during the reign of the past two administrations contributed immensely to this state of affairs by destroying the Iraqi national state, failure in responding in time to the massacres of the Syrian people, ignoring the rise of non-state actors, the absence of a serious will to solve the protracted issue of Israeli occupation of Palestine and Arab lands, the disregard of advice of friends and allies in the region were major causes of regional disorder. It is my hope that the Trump administration remedy the ramifications and short-sighted policies of the previous administrations in the region. And as a good friend, the US government, the US media, and even US citizenry have been urging us throughout our friendship to reform ourselves. Over the years, we have listened to and benefited from that advice. We still have some way to go before we are satisfied with our ways. But, ladies and gentlemen, roundabout is fair play. I offer you, the American people, the following advice. Reform your political system. Your people are polarized. There is no consensus. Is it okay with you that your Supreme Court has legalized political bribery as a right? Is it okay with you that one man, one vote is abrogated by the long outdated Electoral College? Is it okay with you that your media has no boundaries and accountability as your executive, legislative, and judicial branches of government do? I and many others of your friends around the world are asking these questions because what affects you, good or bad, affects us. We want you strong and stable. Hopefully, you will continue to be the beacon of human progress and development, and not a socially and politically driven body politic that eats itself from inside. We in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia are attentive to the responsibility and noble intentions, and as emphasized by the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz, on all occasions, we will cooperate and collaborate with all who mean well in order to deal with all the challenges facing us. The aim is to bring security, stability, and peace to our countries and our people, to attend to our future, and therefore world peace and security. Vision 2030 is the platform on which we aim to proceed with our political, social, and economic reform. Some critics have labeled it as too ambitious. What is wrong with ambition? Our course is set. Our leadership, the King and the Crown Prince, are committed. Our people are decided. We proceed to a better future, God willing. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And I am sorry, but I really have to go and catch a plane. If any of you want to ask any questions, please address them to the leaders here, and they can transfer them to me, and I will answer them anytime. And I leave you this. There is much more in it that I haven't said. So if any of you are interested, please look it up. Thank you very much.